Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 35. I can't believe we've done 35 of these. Episode 35 of Get the Flick Out of Here. I'm your host, Alex Pawlowski. With me, as always, is Kate Elizabeth. Kate, last week,
yes,
we reviewed a movie entitled Runaway, co-starring Gene Simmons. The most I would argue, and certainly I think I'd be right, the most famous member of the rock group Kiss.
Oh,
Gene Simmons,
incomparably, yeah.
Yes, and so is it acting in it as like a regular? I mean, yeah, acting is debatable, but he was playing a human being. I think that's. I don't know how well he was playing one, but he was playing a human being.
Cast in the movie, we can definitely say that. Yes,
that is inarguable. And I said in the thing, I don't know. I'm assuming it's his acting debut. Now, what I meant was in a movie in which he doesn't play himself, right? But Chris Boardine of Music and Moonsaults, all credit to Chris Boardine.
God bless you for this. God bless you.
Who tweeted at me and says, actually, Gene Simmons' acting debut was in the made-for-TV movie Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And he editorializes, which has to be seen to be believed. And I don't know, we were kicking around a couple of different ideas to do things this week, and I said, everything else is canceled. We're doing this instead.
Yes, you did.
But I was actually joking because I was like, there's no way this is available. There's no way this is anywhere to stream. And it turns out it's not really. It is, let's say, with a questionable legality. It is uploaded to the service Vimeo, and you can watch the whole thing for free. And I would say to anybody who just wants to watch something completely bonkers for an hour and 24 minutes, you should go ahead and do that.
Boy, do we have the film for you.
So yeah, this movie's bonkers. Even Kiss is too old even for me. Okay. So like I was not cognizant during their run at the beginning. I know from many years later what a phenomenon they were in the 70s. Then they went into we took off the makeup phase in the 80s, which, arguable choice. Maybe not the best choice, but then they got back together and toured again in the 90s. And that's, I think, when I got when I was like, what the hell is this? And I recognized like, oh, so a bunch of songs that I know because they play on my dad's classic rock radio station were Kiss. I just didn't put two and two together. And I was like, oh, party, rock and roll all night and party every day. Like, that's a great song. I had no idea that was the Crazy Makeup Guys. I didn't know that was who that was. So I went into this having a basic knowledge of, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, the four guys in the band. If you showed me a picture of the makeup, I would say that's Paul, that's Ace, that's Peter, that's Gene. I knew who each guy was, and I knew some of their songs, but I did not recognize what a phenomenon they were, nor how silly that phenomenon apparently was.
Kiss is an interesting one because their makeup stuff, those first few albums, the self-titled Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, like basically up through Dynasty, I feel like people, because they're such a marketing phenomenon as much as a music phenomenon, which is kind of where this movie came into play, people think of them as like, that like corny 80s rock, but they had some like real good albums, like rooted in kind of this like fun twist on, there was like this 50s thing in their earlier stuff and like great music. And then I am firmly, sorry to Chris Jericho, I know he appreciates both eras. I am firmly face paint and earlier Kiss, I would say. But a lot of their commercial success came after that, probably on the back of this movie. I would say this is probably what launched them for stardom.
Yeah, and no, absolutely.
It's so funny because this movie, like, to know that they had a manager that was like, Kiss the movie, man. Like, they made so much money in so many other ways. And this is so, like you said, it's bonkers. And I still can't tell. I can't tell you after having watched it. I watched an interview with G too. I don't know if there's a part of me that felt like in the movie they knew that they were creating a bonkers movie, and there's parts of it where it doesn't. But I could tell you in the interview I watched with them, they're very aware that it was not good. And they find it funny that fans like look back on it with it being a big deal. And they put it in their like Kiss anthology collection. Because he was like, now you can go back and watch it for what it is, which is bad. It was not grand or wonderful. And notably at the time, the band was not talking to each other. There were times where some of them would leave set in the middle of shooting and their stunt doubles would play their roles, which we'll get into in this movie and the important roles that their stunt doubles played. And they've said, we didn't know what acting was. We weren't really interested in a script, and the script that was there, they didn't really bother to memorize. So that's a good groundwork, I think, for what we get into, because when you watch it, you could have come to all of those conclusions without getting confirmation from the band, I would say. I think that's a fair call.
Yes. It is odd the way that they Kiss meets the Phantom, singular, of the park is such a weird Google Translate to Google Translate to Google Translate version of what this is. You know what I mean? Like, we translated it from Japanese to German, to Portuguese and to American, and you get Kiss meets the Phantom of the park. And that's like Phantoms, maybe. Apparently, also, when it was released this was a made-for-TV movie for NBC, 1978. In the States, it was released in theaters in Europe as Attack of the Phantoms, which I guess is a little bit better, but it has nothing to do with Kiss in that particular title, which I feel like has to be a selling point.
Has to be the sole selling point. What was so funny was I don't know how to adequately describe how it's been described to me, because we weren't around for the phenomenon that Kiss was, but like, the way they were disruptive into the mainstream was unprecedented, and it blows my mind that this movie looks like it was a home movie, considering like what a box office draw they could have and probably would have been. The lack of any, it looks like it was filmed on a home camera. Like, it is, It doesn't look good. The sound, I was like, you have mastering engineers that you worked with. The sound like goes so loud and quiet and whatever. Like, I was just like, you record albums. You could have had
a lot of that is the fact that it is a made-for-TV movie in the late 70s, and most of the budget went to cocaine. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So,
as evidenced by the quote-unquote plot. We use it loosely.
Okay. So, we are at a park. We only find out that it is Magic Mountain, the very famous amusement park, Magic Mountain, because at one point, some of the main characters are riding around on a monorail that says Magic Mountain on the side. And they didn't really they could have said, this is Magic Mountain, come here. But they kind of slyly did a little bit of product placement by having Magic Mountain. They could have stenciled over it or something if they didn't want it to be. But if you're saying this is Magic Mountain, come to Magic Mountain, then do it more. And if you don't want anybody to know this is Magic Mountain for reasons, then do it less. I would say not at all. But anyway, this is where we are, and the park's owner, Calvin. I don't know if we know his last name, or even if Calvin is his last name. There's Kiss. Kiss will be in concert at the park 3 nights, starting tonight.
And by the way, they say that it's going to be at the outdoor arena.
Mm.
Like, you have Magic Mountain slyly put in there, just the outdoor arena feels like.
The outdoor arena also is the parking lot. That's where the outdoor arena is. They build a stage on the parking lot, and that's what the outdoor arena is. So we're not going to get into technicalities, I guess. Anyway, the park is overrun by teenagers, as they call it, the Kiss Army, who are there to see Kiss.
Those aren't kids.
At one point, one of the rides malfunctions. It has to be like an emergency stopped, and Calvin is like, I don't like this. But we the first thing we ever see is Sam and Melissa in the front car of the roller coaster, just having a blast, like 2 young people would. And then the opening credits are Kiss playing Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day. And they're doing it superimposed over the park like they're giants. Peter Criss is playing the drums on the roller coaster, like the roller coaster is his drum set, but it's all really lazily superimposed on everything. That is not the only time Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day will be played during this movie. You got to play it twice. Got to play the hits.
Of course.
Yeah. So anyway, the major thing that's going on right now is that I believe Dr. Abner Devereaux, which is an incredibly preposterous name, and marks to the people who decided to top marks to people who were like, Abner Devereaux. We picked out 2 names out of hat. Last name, first name, Abner Devereaux. Could not have done better. And he's the guy who designed the park. He created all the attractions, and he's been coming up with like a line of like automaton android type things that will be around the park doing stuff, and everybody stops and watches these, like if the Hall of Presidents could get up and move throughout Disneyland. Like, that's what this guy has done. And he wants more money for research and development. I'm so close to a breakthrough. By the way, I should mention that Abner Devereaux is played by Anthony Zerbe, who you may not know his name, but I only know it because in the 90s, he was in a bunch of movies. And whenever he would be in the movie, my dad would go, "Hey, Anthony Zerbe." I don't know why my dad would always recognize Anthony Zerbe, but he always did. And so it stuck in my mind.
Anthony Zerbe Stan account. I love it.
I guess. He just recognized him. Didn't say like, "Oh, he's great." But I looked it up because I was like, why does my dad know this guy is? He won an Emmy in 1976 for Best Supporting Actor in a TV series.
Good for him.
Yeah, and 2 years later, he was in this. So I don't know if the Emmy shot him off to superstardom. But an Emmy-winning actor playing Abner Devereaux, he is chewing through all of the scenery, even scenery that's in scenes he's not in. He's chewing through all of it. It's like, I must have my research and development funds so I can perfect my project. He's actually grabbing Calvin by the lapels. Like, they started the park together. Calvin was the money man. Professor Devereaux, Dr. Devereaux was Abner, was the guy, the brains behind the whole thing. But I was like, we're losing money. We have been for years. This Kiss concert is the thing that's going to hopefully turn all that around. But yes, but you spent all this money getting Kiss here and building the stage and everything. But why are my research and development funds? It's no use arguing science with a bookkeeper. So they're at an impasse, and Abner walks away from this argument. And he comes across 3 hoodlums. Like, they're just the hoodlums. And there's two male hoodlums and 1 female hoodlum. Listen, female hoodlum has a name in the credits. It's never spoken during the movie. She makes sure over and over again to let us know the names of her compatriots, but nobody ever says who she is. Would you like to know what her name is in the credits?
I would love to know.
Dirty D. Her compatriots are Chopper and Slime. He said, "Hey, man, Chopper and Slime don't hurt nobody unless they want to," she says. She's the voice of the group. She's also a major advocate for both Chopper and Slime. Chopper is her boyfriend. I don't know what the hell Slime is up to. But they're hoodlums, so they're vandalizing or threatening to vandalize things at the park. And Abner is like, please, leave my animatronic gorilla alone. It took $30,000 in a year to perfect him. Please. And
they're like, perfect them, please. Yeah. For a gorilla who does.
Hey, do you and Magilla Gorilla have a little thing going? So, for the sake of brevity and familiarity, I believe that Dr. Abner Devereaux will be played by my version of William Regal for the rest of this review, and also Chopper and Slime will both be Tony D'Angelo. We'll be doing the voice of both of these guys, even though that's not really how they sound. It is very over the top how they made these three be like completely from a different movie entirely. Also, I believe they're supposed to be like the same age as the Kiss fans, but Chopper has a majorly receding hairline. And I looked it up. The actor was only 28 when he played it, and I was like, "Oh, that's yikes!" I mean, I know what that's about. I was losing my hair in my 20s. It was a terrible time, but nobody asked me to play an 18-year-old hoodlum. So there you go. He says, but well, perhaps to show you there's no hard feelings, perhaps you would like 3 free passes to our Chamber of Horrors. Hey, Chamber of Horrors, like really scary stuff, hey, man. That's so lame. Hey, isn't it lame, Chopper? Yeah, Slime, it's really lame. But let's go anyway. This is all after we find Sam, who works for Professor Devereaux, Dr. Devereaux, has like, I should probably go check and see what's going on at work. I'll be back in an hour, Melissa. You meet me at the snack bar in an hour. We see later Sam in the laboratory walking around, looking over his shoulder like he thinks someone's watching him, snooping, like he's literally feeling the walls for a hidden switch to open a door that like slides up like it's in Star Trek or something. And then it does, and he looks over his shoulder again, and he gets in the door, and the door closes. And we hear a whooshing sound, and the door opens again, and he's gone. And they never explain what he's looking for, why he works there. This is his job. He's supposed to be there. He works in that laboratory, but he's in there like he's snooping around looking for something he's going to steal. And no one ever explains his behavior or why that happened. Anyway, so this is where I think we get to see Chopper and Slime and female delinquent, I mean Dirty D.
Who's like the most vocal in the group. The fact that she really doesn't have a name is so ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, she has a name. Her name in the script is Dirty D, but Chopper or Slime don't refer to her by it. So they're walking through the Chamber of Horrors, and it's like, hey, man, this is kid stuff. Oh, imagine being scared by this. Oh, he scared me. Like, it's really bad. But they're all obviously, the animatronics are all obviously human beings acting like robots,
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was like, as soon as they walk in the door, I'm like, oh, so all these three are going to be kidnapped and turned into robots too. Cool. Like, it becomes like this thing. Like, if you had made the animatronics like actual animatronics, you don't have the budget for that. But if you had made them like actual animatronics, I maybe wouldn't have seen through your little ruse so fast, Devereaux. So literally, Chopper is scared by Dracula sitting up very fast out of his coffin, and go.
Yeah, and
And
it's
then
like Dracula, Frankenstein, like it's all
Mhm.
the cast of characters that you would
the
expect.
Wolfman, literally standing in a corner, going, uh,
Ah,
that's all he's doing. And then he gets scared, and Slime and Dirty D make fun of him, and they walk away. And he says, "Kid stuff," and then falls through a trapdoor immediately. Slime and Dirty D just keep walking, and they go into another room, and it's also scary. And they're like, "Hey, we should probably go. This is weird. Yeah, let's get out of here." Um, and so they go back in the first room looking for Chopper, but they can't find him. Slime is taken prisoner by a mummy through a sarcophagus. The sarcophagus open. There's a mummy. Mummy grabs him, pulls him into the sarcophagus. Sarcophagus closes. Dirty D comes into the room second, goes right to the sarcophagus. Sarcophagus opens. Mummy's there. No Slime. Sarcophagus closes, and then she just walks around for another minute and a half, being scared by things, until finally she is taken prisoner by, I forget, but she's taken prisoner.
it was like at this point in the movie that I was like, "Are we going to see kiss?" Because this was like a half hour into the movie. I was just
about that, yeah.
Melissa
is sitting at the snack bar. It's been an hour, been over an hour. She's missing Sam. Where's Sam? She's now ordered a second Coca-Cola. There's a little paper cup right in front of her, and there's a waitress at the snack bar, brings over another paper cup of Coca-Cola, and she pays for it with a couple of quarters. And she's sitting there. She's been waiting so long, she's had to drink 2 Coca-Colas. And then there's this really weird thing where she looks over, and there's a table of 3 teenage boys. And they're like literally licking their chops looking at her. And she's like, she kind of like half smiles at them, and they keep cutting back to the guys looking at her. And like, is this supposed to establish that she's pretty and other boys want to be with her? Because like, we have eyes, she's pretty. So I don't know
like
what this
playing
is.
like a song. Is it the song has the name Melissa in it or something? Like
that's later. There's a very long. They're all, by the way, the soundtrack, of course, is all Kiss stuff.
Yes.
And there are a couple of ballads I didn't even realize that they wrote that are in this. But anyway, something is playing over it, like love is love, terrible love. It's love. There's a lot of that. So much love. 3 guys worth of love watching you. Like it does feel very much like when she gets up and leaves, like she has escaped some kind of multiple sexual assault in the snack bar. Like it really feels like the way that she gets up and leaves the 3 guys over there, that's what she does. But she goes and she talks to, there's a Kiss makeup competition where all these kids put on Kiss makeup, and the first little boy they show is wearing like Gene Simmons makeup, a little black boy. He could not have been more sad. When they show him, they close up, he's like, I don't want to wear this. It's itchy and I don't like it. Like he's not happy about it. I believe that is the only person of color in the film, is this little black boy who's painted white. So that right there should tell you of the race relations of the film. I'm just kidding. I just thought it was very funny.
It was, and he's like so sad. It was like
he's very, very sad. He does not want to be there. Him. She goes and talks to the security guards. One of the security guards is played by all-time, hey, it's that guy actor Brian James, who's in Fifth Element and 48 Hours and Blade Runner. That guy went from this piece of crap to being a major character in Blade Runner and 48 Hours in the span of 4.5 years. And good for you, Brian James. He was in a lot of movies through the 80s and 90s. An all-time, hey, you know that guy's going to play his part perfectly in this schlocky B-movie crap, is Brian James. And so
it's funny that he's like, oh, I know that guy. And his name is like also extremely generic white guy like Brian James.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Kind of funny.
Anyway, he's one of the security guards. The head security guard's like, we have thousands of employees here at the park. I'm like, the park's not that big. Maybe one of the reasons you're operating at like in the red all the time is that you've hired entirely too many people.
Thousands.
Here's what I would do. Before I was like, let's bankrupt the fund that like puts new animatronics in the park and like pays for the rides to be safe. Maybe I would hire a few less people to work at the snack bar. Maybe if you want a Coca-Cola, go up to the window and get it, as opposed to hiring a waitress who has to. I mean, come on. Anyway.
Thousands of people, Alex.
Thousands. We have thousands of employees at the park, they said. It's the biggest park known to man. And anyway, but you have to know he works for somebody named Abner. Oh, Abner Devereaux. Yeah, he works over there. That's his lab is underneath the giant tower over there. And she just walks into it. No, she walks over there, knocks on the door. And he has a camera system. Abner does. It's like, this is off limits. You may not come here.
There's like a really beautiful shot of a sign that says restricted area too. It lingers there for like 20 seconds.
Too long.
It's pretty great.
Anyway, so like, oh, I'm looking for Sam. Ah, yes, Sam. Come in, my dear. So he brings her down to in the bottom of the thing, takes her down the elevator. It's like, you just descended 190 feet in 2.3 seconds. I tried to make it faster, but I didn't want to hurt you. And so this is not at all how he talks, but he does have a really weird accent. I just like doing this voice because it's fun.
That is how he talks. You want to find out? Go watch the film. Yeah. All right.
There you go.
Our version of it.
There you go.
That's how we talk.
So she says, "Where's Sam? I know he works here. He said he was coming here. Where is he? We got engaged." And she's like, "Oh." He's like, "Oh, well, the Sam I know has a roving eye. He's always bringing in all these hussies into this little lab. He's got a new girl in every port he does. He's not even a sailor." But like the way that like she tries to throw her off the scent by saying that he's probably cheating on you. Go away. You're better off without him. He's like, that's not who Sam is. I don't know what you're talking about. So he shows off his animatronics to her. He's very, very, very happy about these androids. He said androids will be doing all of human beings' work in the next few years. There's a guy who's dressed like the London Tower guards, like the beef eaters, I think is what they're called. I don't know why he's dressed up like that, but he's doing stuff. And there's a whole there's a disembodied head that goes nah, nah, nah. And then there's a barbershop quartet, like a full barbershop quartet. One of the quartet is just a head. So it's like a 3 1/4 tet.
My big thing with this was like, if you have this technology, why is your first use case for it a British guard who their job is mostly to stand there and a barbershop quartet?
I don't know.
Maybe there's probably more useful scenarios.
Yeah,
for these
I don't.
Good and
I don't
evil.
know. I don't know. But anyway, she's like, this is really impressive. And where's Sam? And he's like, well, I hope you'll find him. Keep looking for him. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry if I got off on the wrong foot. Here is a security pass. You may bring it with you wherever you go, and it will let you into quarters of the park you may not be able to get into. There you are. Security pass, of course, has a camera embedded in it because, of course, it does.
By the way, just like in general, I would say, ladies, if the answer is underground to anywhere that you're looking for someone, just like A, don't go alone, and B, consider going at all. Like if like at an amusement park, the answer is like, I'm looking for someone, and the answer is underground. Just pause on it at least, you know. I think it's important.
So I've gone through this a little out of order. Security pass isn't yet. The House of Horrors is where the 3 Toodlums get kidnapped is after Melissa comes to visit Abner.
I thought we were out of order, and here's why. When I saw the animatronic barbershop quartet, I wrote down the timestamp at 1659 because it's the greatest cinematic scene in history. Yeah. So that's earlier, and then about I think like a half hour we get in. To the Dirty D.
Dirty D, Chopper, and Slime have been kidnapped. He is. This is, by the way, this is being watched and controlled via remote by Abner. He's taking great pleasure in scaring and kidnapping these three hoodlums. And then we see the next scene, which is Abner coming out of his office to meet with Calvin again. It's like, I've been waiting for an hour. What's going on? It's like, I was doing something. Can't this wait? No, it can't wait. We got to do now. So he takes him on a golf cart out of the park to the stage, which again is a stage built in the parking lot. And they get out there on the golf cart.
For the biggest rock band in the world at this time had to have been, right? I mean,
one of them.
Yeah.
Certainly. So certainly live act. Like they were very famous for their live stuff that they would do. So like the concerts were huge. So he brings him out in the golf cart and the turns says, "You're fired." You could have fired him at his office because he's got to go back in there and clean it out, right? He's got personal effects in there. Why you brought him out to the stage to like rub it in his nose? Like, listen, I know you wanted more money for your research development, but look at the size of the stage we built. You're fired. Like, it was a very odd thing to rub his nose in. Like, we chose this over you.
Well, and we also saw like rides malfunctioning at the park.
Yes. Yeah.
So there was also that, like, the job he was there to do was to like maintain the park.
Yeah.
And we see multiple malfunctions and he doesn't really care.
Mm-hmm. Right. But he walks very forlornly through the because Magic Mountain has those giant wooden roller coasters that you would never catch me on in a million years, because that wood was cut down during the Theodore Roosevelt administration. Like those things are old. So anyway, he's walking very forlornly through that, and there's like just ballads of like, oh no, my life is over and it's terrible the way I feel. So he's very sad. And then we finally get Kiss. Like he's been fired up. Like,
it's gotta be Calvin, like 40 minutes into an hour and a half movie, we get to see Kiss.
Calvin does let him down easy. He's like, listen, you've been under a lot of stress, obviously. You've done enough for this park. Like, thank you so much for everything you've done. But really, I think it'd be better for you if you just like took some time off and went traveling or whatever you need. You've earned some time off from all of this. You put in so many hours. Like, I think this is good for you. It's like, don't you understand? There's nothing for me outside the grounds of this park. Like, well, that's your problem. Like, if you've gotten to be like 50 years old, you don't have a wife, kids, like family, friends,
a
hobby. Yeah. I mean, come on. Take up canasta. So Kiss has their first night of the thing. They play one of my favorite songs of theirs, shout it out loud. I always like that song. But they play it, but they also have superpowers. They fly into the arena. They fly, shooting lasers out of their fists and eyes. They disappear and reappear holding their instruments, and everyone's like, this is what Kiss is. It is not treated as a stage show. It is treated as though Kiss have superpowers. Which I'm like, okay, fine. And then later you find out, no. The contention of this film is that Kiss has superpowers.
Correct.
Like, that's the contention of this film, that they are superpowered beings. During this performance, we see Sam. Oh, by the way, I forgot about this. As soon as Melissa leaves, like a wall opens and Sam is sitting there rigid, like staring ahead like nothing. It's like, she's very beautiful, Sam. Perhaps one day she'll join you in my menagerie. Like, it's a really weird thing. Like he works. Was there a scene where he came down and was like, listen, Mr. Devereaux, thank you for your job, but I have to quit because I'm gonna go get married and we're gonna go on a honeymoon and then we're gonna move to where her parents live. And he's like, no, you can't quit. We're so close to a breakthrough. You must stay and work for me. Like, was that a thing? Like, I don't understand why he even turned him into an android. Anyway, he did. So during this concert, we see there's an animatronic George Washington, I don't know, with a lazy eye, with eyes that go crossed, and his tongue sticks out weird angles, and he's like, his facial circuitry is malfunctioning. Fix it, Sam. And then Sam, who's also an animatronic thing, is fixing his thing, and then he walks over to Dirty D, Slime, and Chopper, who are dressed as colonial people, and it's like, now I've made you into real Americans. And or something like that, like to good Americans or something like that. Earlier, he mentions having like wanting to start an Americans on Parade attraction, and I guess this is what for that. But later in the movie, more animatronic people go out and do stuff like they steal things, they kidnap other people. It's not these three though. Like you introduced named characters. Well, 2 out of 3 of them are named in the film, but Chopper, Slime, and Dirty D, and then you kidnap them, turn them into animatronic people. Those are then the characters you send out to do your dirty work, because we already know who they are. We recognize them. We get the implications of these people have had their minds controlled or whatever. You don't just send out other random automatons to do your work. We never, ever see Chopper, Slime, or Dirty D ever again. Like, I've turned you into real Americans now, and I will put you in a closet where you'll never be heard from again. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know why we did that.
No consequence there at all.
No.
There were multiple things in this where I'm like, was it left on the cutting room floor? Like, what happened? What happened here? This was one of them. Their arcs just kind of end here.
Yeah. Now, Abner's idea is that he will create animatronic versions of Kiss, and that Kiss will go into concert and will incite a riot because all of the children teenagers who watched Kiss will do whatever Kiss tells them to. This is not like this is what the bad guy thinks. This is a major contention of the film, that if Kiss told you to murder your family, you would do it. And it's like, this is what the movie is saying, and it's very odd. But that's his whole plan. He's going to bring about Armageddon and destroy the entire park by having animatronic Kiss use subliminal messaging through the song at the concert to make all of the concert goers go crazy. That's his master plan. So in order to do that, though, he needs photos of Kiss from every angle, he says. So he sends Sam with a camera to blend in among the press and just take pictures of Kiss. Kiss, by the way, has now come off the back of the stage, and they're there to get pictures taken and answer press questions. And there's Sam doing the thing.
I also just feel like this is a little intense. Of you got fired from your job at an amusement park to now wanting to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a disproportionate response, I would say. I want to destroy society through Kiss because I lost my job at the amusement park. Feels like a big leap that doesn't quite feel justified here. Because until this, he's kind of like just a mad scientist, but weird. He's not like quite evil. And now all of a sudden it's like, I want to murder society.
Yeah, it's a tad bit of an overreaction.
It's a jump. It's a jump.
So Melissa is there and sees Sam with the camera and runs in. The security guards stop her, and we hear. Okay, so here's something else you need to know. They don't really refer to themselves or each other by their names, even though we all know it's Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter. They refer to them as their makeup designs. Gene is a dragon, but they call him the demon. He's got this big dragon's wings, is what this was supposed to represent. Peter is the cat man because he's got little whiskers. And Paul is Star Child because he's got a big star in one of his eyes. And Ace is the spaceman or space ace occasionally. He's got lightning bolts on his eyes. And so we hear Gene say, Star Child. And then Paul does this. And one of his eyes glows orange and sends out a big star out of his eye that stops the security guards from holding on to Melissa. And here, his eye keeps glowing as he walks up, because Sam, having been recognized, has like walked slowly out into the park. Like, oh, come on. There, says the security guards. There's so many press here. I mean, I'm sure she was just assuming it was her boyfriend, but it was somebody different. And Paul says, no, Sam is here. He's still in the park. I don't know how. It's got to be a choice to be like, we must do everything as deadpan as possible, and like we are aliens from another world that don't know how to like interact with people. Occasionally they tell jokes to each other, but most of the time it's like everything must be said like this. And if I'm Paul Stanley, I'll occasionally do this face. But like that's basically it. It was very
and there's the random cat growling.
Yes,
so disruptive and weird.
Yes, they say but, and then Gene Simmons goes like if they play the tiger growl sound effect that was absolutely recorded from a tiger growling in 1948, and they've used for every movie ever since. And it's very odd, and everyone just like accepts. Oh well, Gene Simmons growled at me, so we should just stop what we're doing. And
I also just like, this is the second week in a row we've had a movie where like, okay, if I want to open my phone and I don't use the thumbprint thing, there's now like the facial scan thing, right? They sent Sam out to take pictures of Kiss from every angle. You couldn't even think like, I'm a mad scientist and I developed a technology that would have some like facial recognition capture.
He literally had to bring the camera back to the lab and then develop the pictures one by one in the dark room. Like, man,
like it's like 40 years later, man, and I have facial recognition technology. You couldn't even think like 30 years.
Nope. So this is where Beth goes back to Abner, trying to find Sam. He says, he's not here. Keep looking for him. Here's a security pass. It'll help you get into blah, 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 blah. There's a camera in it. So Kiss has become her companions walking through the park looking for Sam. They stop and she sits, and they play a rendition of, honestly, which I found out today, their biggest hit ever. Beth, the ballad.
Was it really their biggest?
It peaked at number 7 on the Billboard chart. They never had a bigger hit than that.
Even that surprises me. Just that they never had anything higher than 7. Wow.
They had albums that charted really high, but as far as a single, number 7 was as far as they went, and was Beth. And I found out the story about this because in this thing, Peter Criss, the drummer, does the vocals for Beth. Now, also, Beth was all, I always really liked that song when I was younger. And I remember a few years ago when I heard it, when I found out it was Kiss, I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no way that's by Kiss. And Beth was sung by Peter Criss in real life, not just in this movie. And when they recorded it for the thing that went to number 7, it was just Peter Criss in the studio. Paul and Gene and Ace weren't even in the building. It was just him singing the song with some backing other musicians that they brought in, studio musicians. That's it. Peter was always like the black sheep of Kiss, like nobody else liked him. And I'm wondering if that's because their biggest hit was sung by the drummer with nobody else in the band playing on it. And he was, let's face it, the least talented musician of the group. He's not breaking new ground with his drumming. But he wrote it when he was in a different band before he met them. And they were trying to find a B-side for Detroit Rock City. And this is what came out of it. He wrote it in a mocking tone about a different member of the band's wife who would always call and say, "When are you coming home?" When they were rehearsing. This is before they ever, like, they weren't famous. They were trying to rehearse so they could play in a bar that weekend. And so he wrote it to mock her. Her name was Becky, but everyone called her Beck. So it was originally Beck. Beck, I hear you calling, but I can't come home right now. But it was a way he was actually making fun of his bandmate for like having a woman who would always call and ask where he was. And then it turned into this very sincere, beautiful love ballad about a guy who wants to be home with his wife, but he has to do this because that's how he puts food on the table. And it's a very interesting that the whole thing comes around to just Peter Criss wrote this years ago. We need a ballad. Hey, I got something. Let's figure out if this works. And it became their biggest hit ever. Anyway, so they're singing it. He's singing it to Melissa, who's just sitting there. And I was like, you could have just named her Beth. You could have named her Beth, and then the whole thing could have might have made some kind of sense. But anyway, the whole thing stops because Sam has gone to steal the talisman. And when he
my favorite dialogue in the movie is right here.
Destroys their hotel room to find the talisman. And he finds them, opens it up, and there is a weird light up dragon, a tiger, which I guess is supposed to be a cat, a lightning bolt, and a star. And he reaches for them, and he gets shocked by it. And the thing, and the little chest it's in closes automatically. And then Paul, getting like a disturbance in the force, stops playing his guitar along with Beth. And they all go back to the hotel room, and this is where we found out about the talisman. Now, nobody told Melissa, the actress, how to say the word. So she's saying it talisman. Every time she says the word talisman, she says talisman. And I'm like, it doesn't rhyme with a policeman.
No, it would be so great. Like if just one member of Kiss had a comedic chop.
Yeah.
And like that was a thing of like when people say potato or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like if they were just like the talisman or what, you know what I mean? Just like every time she said it, they just gave like a and like corrected her without correcting her. If they did that over and over again, that would have been hilarious.
I've heard of your talisman, but I didn't know they were really. She says talisman, and I don't believe like the plural of talisman. Like I don't think that's what it is, but nobody ever says talismans.
Talisman.
Which I thought it. Talisman. It's talisman. Of course, it's talisman. That's silly of me. But anyway, they each have one, right? But anyway, they described her as like without the talisman, no powers. We're just ordinary human beings. And then Gene walks over.
He says
and
with cat face paint on.
Yeah.
In the most, this is like the most high school project line delivery and filming ever. It's like camera shot on one of them, camera shot on another of them. We're just normal human beings.
Yep.
Without our talisman. Like, you're talking about the thing that gives you superpowers.
We're just ordinary human beings. And then Gene walks over because every time Gene has any lines, they change his voice with some kind of weird echo. So he walks over and he shuts the thing. He says, "Not quite ordinary." It's very odd the way that they change his voice.
It sounds like scripts.
It does. It does.
Those scripts vignettes.
It's got a little bit of scripts in it. This is where he says, no, my friend, says Professor Devereaux, because he's listening in through the little camera in her badge. You'll find you are quite ordinary. And then he comes over to a little like a little gurney in which is laying an android, Gene Simmons. He pushes a button and it flexes its arm a little bit, pushes another button and it breathes fire.
And the way I can't even describe, you really do have to see it. Like the tweet that set us up with this whole thing is right. When he goes to flex his arm, laying on the table, it is so hilarious. It is so amazing.
It's bad. But this is where it becomes like this is where like I feel like Gene Simmons insisted that this scene was in the film. Because Gene Simmons playing the android Super Hulk version of himself busts through a brick wall and breathes fire. And the security guards call for backup, and there's like 6 security guards, and he beats them all up, and then he smashes a snack stand for no reason. And like it's really small, honestly. And if he had taken 1.5 steps to either the left or the right, he could have walked around it. But he smashes through it for no reason. And that's it. You like you built a super Incredible Hulk android version of Gene Simmons in his Kiss makeup, and you sent him out of the lab to break through a wall. He didn't know security guards were there. They happened to be there. They called in for backup. He beat them all up, and then he walked through a soda stand that they have there, made out of styrofoam. What was, again, I always say this, to what end? Were you sending him out to steal something, to break other things, to like sabotage rides? What was the point of, because there's never another appearance of Incredible Hulk android Gene Simmons. He's never there again. The backing track, I don't know what it was. I really liked it. I actually have to go out and find that particular track that Kiss did because I like it. But that over this,
the best part of this movie was the Kiss songs.
Yes. And I
was like, I forgot how great old Kiss was. Like, these rule.
This is where I was like, oh, this movie's bonkers. Like, you sent out this Incredible Hulk android Gene Simmons to beat up a bunch of cops.
For no reason.
That's it. For no reason.
It makes so much sense that Chris Jericho is a Kiss fan. Between the fireballs, you got Gene Simmons breathing fire. You got a classic like Wardlow setup of him just like squashing 5 security guards. It's good shit.
Yes. The next morning, the cops are trying to find Kiss because they weren't killed by him. They got beaten up by him. It's like Gene Simmons beat us up. That's what they want to say.
Probably arrest him. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to try and find him, but Calvin doesn't want that to happen because they've got 2 more nights of I believe 2 more nights of concerts, and they bring in $250,000 a night. Like,
can't emphasize enough, probably the most popular touring music live act in the world, doing a residency at an amusement park parking lot.
Yeah. So they find them hanging out by the pool dressed as druids. They're sitting in lifeguard chairs. They've got shrouds and hoods on. They're in full makeup still, full costume, but they're wearing now like shrouds and hoods over themselves.
They were like, this isn't weird enough. What can we do?
and they're like, hey guys, have you seen Gene? We got a couple of questions to ask him. And then Gene shows up, regular Gene, also dressed as a druid. I don't know if they like planned this out the night before. Like, hey, tomorrow let's go hang out by the pool wearing druid costumes. Sounds great. Anyway, so he comes in. He's like, basically all the time he's jutting out his lower jaw and slightly grunting. That's his whole persona as the demon. Like, hey, like, do you think it was this guy? Of course it was this guy. He nearly ripped my arm off. Like, yeah, it was this guy. Like, Gene, listen. Anyway, so then he hold on. Let me go talk to the security guards. And so he's talking to him, and then Paul uses his super hearing to eavesdrop across the pool. It's like, hey, this investigation is a stroke, man. Which just feels like a really weird investigation's a stroke, man. He's afraid we're gonna walk if he tries anything. And that's it. Like, he comes over like, we've decided to let you, like, please, no more problems. We'll start the investigation after the concert's over, all this kind of stuff, right? Done. Kiss in concert night 2. Okay. This is given the full day for Abner to perfect a ray gun that will counteract the force field given off by the talisman. And he's going to send Sam to go and...
Sorry.
Listen.
My phone with my notes on it just was like, this movie's too bonkers. I can't.
He's going to send Sam out to try and procure the talisman again while... Did they put it in a safe? No. Did they? Here's the thing. They could have done this because otherwise this other scene doesn't make any sense. They could have said, park security, will you please take hold of our talisman and put them in your vault? Right? They could have done that. But they didn't do that. However, they probably should have if they were going to include this next scene, which is the security guards sitting in their security guard trailer, and then gas gets pumped into the security guard trailer. And 2 guys in red coats outfits, like British soldiers from 1776, who are animatronic guys, walk in and kidnap the 2 security guards, drag them out of the trailer. You might ask, to make them into automatons too? Nope. We just see them the next morning like they're fine. Like, I when the first time I watched this movie, because yes, I watched it twice. The first time I watched this movie, I was like, oh, this must be where they were keeping the talisman. And when Sam comes in later, they got rid of the security guards so they couldn't stop him. No, he just goes back to their hotel room or wherever they were staying to get the talisman. There's no reason for them to ever have attacked the security guards with gas, much alone drag them out of the place to then do nothing with them because they just show up like regular security guards the next morning. Is there a deleted scene where they wake up naked in the woods? Like, what happened? So weird.
And there's also like no evidence to suggest these animatronics are like unbeatable or resistant to guns or like they're just animatronic. There's no way. There's no. I can't unplug them. There's no justification to suggest there's like that they're invincible in any way.
Right.
It's so weird.
Right.
They just grab people.
So, he goes and Sam goes and retrieves the talisman by using the electro ray gun on it to stop them from using their force fields, but not stop them from having superpowers, crucially, because after the second night of the concert, they go into the park and are weirded out when like all the park rides start riding by themselves because Abner can control them with a device, but he doesn't do anything. It's not like one of the guys gets trapped in the Ferris wheel and he makes it go around and around and around really fast. It's not like another guy is in that little thing, like where you stand up against the wall and it spins, a centrifugal force
like
keeps
those
you against it.
gravitrons. Yeah.
It's not like that, or another guy's in the roller coaster and he's making it go way faster than normal. They're all sitting on the merry-go-round, which is moving at a normal rate of speed. So he's I guess, is he intimidating them by having all the other rides go while they're watching? Go, wow, this is weird, man. Yeah, this cat, we got to find this cat. Which I don't know. So
it's very odd.
We also have seen him working on the circuitry of weird white cat ape automatons earlier, and then they Kiss walks into the middle of one of those giant roller coasters things with all the wood pilings everywhere that they built out of it. Crucially, the interior of all of that is all the white, all the wood stuff is all painted white, right? An army of white cat ape automatons are climbing on all over the roller coaster. But because they are white and the roller coaster is white, I can't see any of them.
No.
I like slow it down, and you can occasionally see one of them walking around. There's at least 12 of them up there, but you can't see them with the naked eye.
Late 70s, early 80s right. Clarity of a camera too.
Exactly.
Like it's not good.
You could have literally made them any color. Like, this is a very trippy type movie.
They could have made
them all. They could have all but like rainbow colors. One's green, one's purple, one's blue, like all that. But no, you made them all white, climbing around a white thing, and then they jump off and have a fight with Kiss, like a full fist fight kung fu match. But Kiss is all using magical powers as well to fight them off.
Of course.
And because also they're inside the middle of the roller coaster, all the background is all white, so you really can't see any of the things they're fighting. I just think
it's so like
bad. Such a bad.
I remember, because I'm such a baseball nerd, I was like, this sounds like when baseball players complain at like the Tampa Rays stadium that the ball disappears into the roof because it was white. I'm like, they could have made the roof any other color. This is that. It's like the same thing where everything is just like indistinguishably white.
Right. So they are able to defeat all the army of cat apes. And then they somehow wind up inside like a hall of mirrors type thing with a bunch of samurai and ninjas automatons, and they fight them off for a while using like acrobatics and again more magical powers. But if Abner stole the talisman and can use the thing to like stop their power, like if the talisman are what give them the superpowers, just use your little ray to like take that away, and then they have no superpowers, which is weird. I guess what they're saying maybe is like they're not using magic, but they can just do kung fu. Like they're normal human beings who are really good at kung fu, I suppose.
Kung fu, yeah.
No, but they do use magical powers because once they're surrounded by the samurai, Ace Frehley like clinks his little wristlets together, and there's an explosion of sparks, and they disappear. So the magic powers are still there.
And they're also just like generically magic powers. Like it's kind of funny. It's not like one of them has one power really. Like it's just magic powers.
So they're also trying to track down Sam on behalf of Melissa because they're very helpful. They're a very helpful mystical rock band. And so Sam takes them, is leading them into a trap. And I love that, like, he's like, "Hey man, what's this guy's trip?" And Gene Simmons goes, "His trip is a trap," which I thought was actually the most clever line of dialogue in the entire thing. But he leads them into the Chamber of Horrors, where there's another extended fist fight scene between the members of Kiss and a bunch of animatronic monsters. Eventually, though, now they are fully unable to repel the advancing army of monsters. And they are taken prisoner, and they are put into a cell with electric bars. And they're the talisman are over here. This is where, of course, Professor Devereaux reveals his plan. He brings out the Kiss automatons. And it's like, "They will take your place and have the concert tonight." "Ah, man, everyone's gonna know it ain't us." "No, I can assure you, these are perfectly crafted. They'll fool everyone. But what about our music? They can't play like us. But everything has been taken care of. Some of your lyrics will maybe be changed." And so they put Imposter Kiss on stage in front of this is the third night of the concert to play for the fans. "Armageddon is coming to this park tonight. We will incite a riot, and you will be to blame. Rock and roll music will die." And here's a front row seat, and he turns around his little viewfinder, so like all the TVs are pointed at the cage, and then he leaves. He just walks away. He's not there. There's no security. He's just there, and it's like, "We need to get out of this cage so we can stop this from happening. Let's use our magical powers to get the talisman." And
nope, this is the line. Ready?
Yeah.
"I'll bend these beams with my mind." "You mean our mind?"
That's right.
That was my favorite line of dialogue in the movie.
That's good. Yeah. Yep.
Especially knowing that the band wasn't really even on speaking terms at this point. Like, my God, you mean our mind is just, God bless. God bless.
So good. They actually all, well, Peter Criss does this. Gene Simmons does this. And Paul Stanley does this. And Ace Frehley does this. Ace Frehley is not helping at all, and he was the one who said, "We'll bend the bars with my mind." And when Nick says, "Our mind," well, fine, then I'm not going to play. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not helping. And they use the force to, like, levitate the little thing of talismans into the... You have the magic required to levitate a box of talismans in it across a room inside an electrical bar cage.
Can't emphasize enough too, like the red box with the obvious strings was so good.
Yeah.
So good. The strings are so obvious.
Yes.
My God.
But you have the magical powers required to do that, but not the magical powers required to break out of the... You have to get the magical talismans to you so that then you can use their extra power to break out. I should say also, we never actually see them break out of the electrical bars. We see them get the thing to them. They open up the thing. They look at the talismans, and the next scene, they're flying over the concert.
That's correct.
That's what happened.
And mad scientists, not even like handcuffing anybody, like just no effort. Just no effort. Kind of got what he deserved.
Honestly, here's the thing. We'll talk about what he got, which makes no sense. So the entirety of this thing, while they're in there, like, we got to stop this. This is Kiss, and the evil Kiss, animatronic Kiss, of course, also played by the real Kiss, singing a song that I was not familiar with. The song they are singing is "Rip and Destroy," But I swear to God, not knowing it, having no subtitles available on Vimeo, I swear to God, it sounded like they were singing rape, 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 rape and destroy. I was like, okay, now this has gotten entirely out of hand. Destroying the theme park is one thing, but I cannot condone rape. That is never okay. And so I had to Google Kiss rape and destroy. And the first thing came up was Kiss rip and destroy. I was like, oh, ripping. Totally different thing than raping. That's a much better thing than raping. But sorry, my bad. I swear, if you watch Gene Simmons' lips moving during that song, it does not look like rip. So anyway, the entire audience is yelling out rip and destroy over and over again. Again, this movie's conceit is that if Kiss played a song, rip and destroy, and you were in the audience, you would rip and destroy because you're stupid.
Right.
There's not like, oh, it was evil Kiss. Like, I guess like the idea is like, so rock and roll all night and party every day. The reason you're doing said rock and rolling and said partying at those different intervals of time is because Kiss has told you to. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. That makes, right. I guess that makes some sense.
The blind loyalty to Kiss, and the evil nature of rock and roll is just a hell of a combination.
Yeah, it's also kind of, it seems to be like that's actually what they're saying without a hint of irony or like, no, rock and roll is bad for you, and you are stupid for doing whatever Kiss tells you to.
Devil's music.
So real Kiss literally flies in, shooting laser beams out of their fists, lands on the stage, and has a fist fight with Android Kiss.
Yes.
And uses their magical powers to destroy Android Kiss, and then plays rock and roll all night and party every day. And the crowd's like, yeah, I'm so glad I bought tickets to this concert. This is so funny that like
they all just thought it was a part of the spectacle.
Exactly. It's just a part of the show, guys.
Of course.
And so that being over, we cut back to now Devereaux's lab and Melissa saying, what has Sam ever done to you? Just release him. Mr. Devereaux, I know you've got a heart in there somewhere. Please give me back my Sam. And then like he can't hear you. Something like that, whatever. And Sam is standing there, but he's just completely he doesn't look at anything. And then Paul Stanley just walks up to him with no impetus whatsoever, looks at him, and the camera focuses on this like weird little microchip node paperclip thing on his neck. And then does Paul Stanley pick it up with his hands, take it off, and throw it away? No. He uses his eye bolt laser beams to blow it up. It explodes on his neck. And then Sam's like, oh, Melissa, hello, and he gives her a big hug. So Sam is back to normal. Melissa has her boy. Kiss has defeated the Kiss demons. The Devereaux, we can't hear you. But something. He's gotten he got his just desserts or whatever, right? And this is what we've seen him, like the back of his chair. We haven't seen him. We see the back of his chair and Melissa looking at the camera. And then someone spins the chair around to face the camera. He's got really long white hair and a bunch of wrinkles, and he's just staring into the middle distance. And my question is, what? Because I don't... well, he was in complete control, left Kiss in the electrified cage, and walked away, and we never saw anything happen to him. Like, we didn't see... Nobody sent down, like, Kiss laser beams to fry his brain and whiten his hair. That never happened. So he's...
part of why you're confused is because in that interview with Gene and Paul, they said they don't know why that happened, which was amazing. Amazing. They said we still don't know why he turned around in his chair and just they have no idea. Which is just hearing them
Great.
And it's funny, right? Like this is decades old now and they were talking about it. Hearing them trying not to it was a fun interview because they're extremely thankful for everything they have. It seemed like they're very aware of like that they even got to do like a Kiss the movie and that their success has been so great, but they are so aware that this is a terrible movie. And it's almost the tone of them in this interview was like, I don't feel like you should think this is good. Like they were so apologetic that people had to be subjected to it and that they shouldn't like it. Like it was just very, very, very funny to hear people who created something not even be like, it's not very good. They were like, I'm concerned if you think this is a good thing. It was just, it's very funny. But when they just full on acknowledged, like, we don't know what essentially the end of the movie is that we were in, that our name is on. Just beautiful. Just beautiful stuff.
So that is the end of the film. Here's where there's a few things that my takeaways. So this was obviously set up to be something like the Beatles movies, Hard Day's Night and Help, where like the band is involved in a bunch of shenanigans, but because it was also like on the heels of Star Wars, we have to make it like supernatural and spacey because that's what's in. So like they tried to like combine Hard Day's Night and Star Wars. Like that's actually what they set out to do.
I'm not kidding. That's literally what Gene Simmons says in the interview I watched.
Yeah.
That it was Hard Day's Night and Star Wars combo. Very well done.
Yeah. It's that's what it is. Like it's
that is.
But Hard Day's Night and Help work because the Beatles they don't have superpowers. If the Beatles had superpowers in those movies, it would be really stupid and dumb. But they work because it's just them like existing. If they get into shenanigans, sure, but like it's just them existing as human beings. And that's why
there's not gaping plot holes in it.
That's also true. It's very also true. But the other thing is that like looking at the catalog of Kiss songs, it makes no sense that they were dressed up like that. Like if all of their stuff was basically like David Bowie's Space Oddity or something, like then it would make sense. But all their stuff is like, they call me Dr. Love. Like that's not at all what, like you're not space creatures. You're sex crazed rock and rollers, which is totally fine. That's what rock and rollers are supposed to be. But if you say we're supernatural beings from a distant world, you kind of have to tailor your music to that. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, which is why every time I find out that Kiss did a song, I'm like, no, because that doesn't make any sense. I had no idea the big fight scene in the white roller coaster with the white kitten apes is set to Kiss doing I'm back in the New York groove. That was Kiss this whole time. Every time that comes on the radio, that's been Kiss the whole time. Are you kidding me? I found that out yesterday. I'm 43 years old. I have heard that song at least 10 times a year for the last 30 years. I had no idea that was Kiss. That is the most incongruent song to artist that I think I've ever heard.
I want to say that was also, I think that might have been a solo thing. That was, I feel like that might have just been Gene Simmons or something, but yes, it is them. The mystery with me with Kiss has always been, I felt like their less gimmicky music was when they had the face paint on, and then they took the face paint off, and it got like way more gimmicky. It is weird that you had people with the face paint on doing like I like Cold Gin is one of my favorite rock songs ever. And that's off of Dynasty, and it's so the more pure rock and roll stuff was when they had the face paint on it. The more kitschy stuff was when they took it off. It's such a weird juxtaposition. But they also have always had this idea of these characters, and they kind of in Kiss lore like have their own almost origin story. And they could have done an origin story movie here and just didn't. When last week we said you have Gene Simmons and this is the movie you create, my reaction with this was you have all of Kiss and this is the movie you create. You don't even put him in it until the first half hour is over. It was such a weird thing.
Yeah.
The most, I mean, inarguably, I feel like the most commercial band of all time in a movie, and this was the movie they made, is such a funny thing, man. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. It is entirely bizarre.
They got some bangers though.
And needs to be seen to be believed. Like, there's no way we can do justice to it. To the badness of how poorly made the film is, and also just the absolute sheer bonkersness of it.
Yeah,
like just the way that they put it all together, it doesn't make any sense.
We can tell you Kiss was flying through the air. You need to see Kiss flying through the air. You know what I mean?
You really do.
You really, really do. And like, I feel like you got to keep the flick because you got to see it.
Yeah, no. I would say keep the flick only for this. You can dial it up on your on your computer right now when you're finished watching this, and you can watch it. Just here's what I did. I just Googled Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, and up came the actual full movie on Vimeo for free. So yeah, I if you can get that easily, like sometimes it's hard for me to recommend you watch a movie if it's like hard to come by or you've got to pay money for it. I recommend this simply because it is so easy to come by, and you got just honestly the little scroll bar on the bottom. Just pick something somewhere like in the last third of the movie and just click to it. You will not be disappointed with how bonkers it is.
You say the last third of the movie, and that's true because it does go so bonkers there. But I'm telling you, at 16:59, you've got an animatronic barbershop singing at you. The whole thing's a wild ride. But also, like
the last third of the movie is almost an entirely extended fight scene between Kiss and an army of kitten monkeys, some samurai, like the house of horrors like Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman, and then themselves. Like it's just a straight up
sketch from SNL that we've referenced before of like this movie has everything. Kiss doing kung fu, like and like ambiguous superpowers are the best. Yeah. Like just that sometimes they're just good at kung fu and then sometimes they have power. Like it's just hilarious. If you're signing up for what you're signing up for and you know about it, you absolutely have to watch this. I feel like super fun to watch with a bunch of friends if you're just like,
oh my god,
if you're just looking for something so silly, keeping the flick in for those reasons. Bananas movie, not a very good movie, but a movie you gotta see. A movie you gotta see.
Yeah, especially if you like Kiss at all, but didn't. I mean, I'm like, yeah, Kiss is fine. It's got some good music, and like, hey, you know what? Absolute top showman, like 100%. Was not aware this movie existed until like 5 days ago. If you're in that boat, you gotta see it.
Yeah, and it's so Kiss has done so much, and they're so like, it seems like they're really ashamed of this, which I think is amazing and hilarious. Like I'm telling you, I'll send you that interview. It's only like 3 minutes long.
Yeah, I believe I've read the transcript, but not actually seen the interview.
Oh, you have to see the tone of how sad they are about the fact that they are upset they insulted their fans with this. Like it's really, really funny, and they did like a Kiss anthology thing, and they had to put this in it because it's something that they did. But they're like, this is not the creme de la creme of our collection of things. Like they're so not proud of what they did.
I mean, listen, of all the things that they've done, there's plenty to be ashamed of. The fact that this is the only thing they are ashamed of.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive. It's definitely reason to keep it in. All right, everybody. Thank you for this. This has been fun. Again, it is out there. It is on Vimeo.
It
You
is
can
out
watch
there in
it.
so many ways, and we're not just saying distribution wise, but you
true.
can't go to can't go to Vimeo for it.
It's very, very easy to get a hold of. I would say watch it this weekend. It is nuts. Not good. It's not good, but it is crazy. Nuts. So yes, please have fun if you choose to watch it. Watch it with your friends. Watch it with your loved ones.
Watch it with your loved ones.
Yeah, watch it together for moral support, I would say. Everybody, enjoy your time with this, and we'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to review, but we will tell you whether or not it's good or bonkers, or if we have to get it the flick out of here. Bye, everybody.
RESPECT. Click the subscribe button and find out what it means to me. Nah, that doesn't have a ring to it. But if you like videos about real news stories that are funny, stupid, or weird, subscribe now.